are we?
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Last Known Meal, and welcome to the episode 43. Oh my god, my voice of the Cyberpunk 2077 community podcast. Today with me, I have the usual group, starting from the right side. Hello, Madqueen.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Neon Arcade.
Hello, what's going on, chat?
And Subsidian from the Triple S League. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
So, this week, we didn't have the news we were hoping
Before you
for.
start with the introduction, can I say something related
course.
to what the people were discussing in the chat?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'd like to say that because, well, there's a lot of people recently that wants to, get some attention and spread some, let's call it misinformation. And the thing that they were discussing about the NDA. And as a person that has been under very strict NDAs in the past, I would like to say that the first rule of the Fight Club is that you don't talk about the Fight Club. If you're under NDA, you are not supposed to say you are under NDA. If you're in a public position and you're directly asked, maybe for ethical reasons, you don't want to keep information. But if someone says that they're under NDA without nobody asking, there is a great chance that they're lying. Because again, if you're under NDA, the last thing that you're supposed to say is that you are under NDA.
Yeah.
It's not something you brag about, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can generally state hey, I'm under an NDA for certain content, so I can't answer anything regarding that. But you do that in a professional statement. You don't go on Twitter and go, I'm under an NDA, so I can't talk about this. So definitely don't ask me because I'm definitely under an NDA and I can't talk about it. That's not what you do. When you're a journalist in a journalistic setting, or when you're a professional in a professional type setting and somebody asks you a direct question about it, it's like, well, I can't speak to any of that, so I'm not going to answer anything. I'm not going to play the old winking game of like, well, does this game have X in it? If it doesn't, say no, and then we can narrow down what it does, right? Because if you're trying to figure out if a game has A, B, or C in it, and you can rule out A and C, then you know by process of elimination that it has B.
Yeah.
And so this is what this is why you say no, I can't answer any of those questions. Please move on. And that's what we get. But what we had, I think, launched this was that somebody who's now come out and stated that it was misspoken. It was not intended to come out that way. Somebody said casually, "Oh yeah, so and so played the game." What they meant to say is that so and so was at the live playing of the game at the E3 event. They were not playing the game. Have there been people who have played the game? 100%. We know that there's certain people, like certain big name actors and other people who are very well connected to the current process. Of course, they've gotten a bit of a hands-on. That's to be expected. Yeah. But it's not a big group of people who played it 8 months ago and who are going to be writing stories about it tomorrow. That doesn't make sense because, well, it's an 8-month-old demo. Like, come on, no company is going to give you a project that was way back in early, that was way back as arguably where we're still in alpha, where they didn't know what features they were sticking with, giving you access to the game, and then allowing you to write stories about it like 8-9 months later when the game has now moved into its final beta phases. It's like that just doesn't happen. Generally speaking, that never happens. So
even the deep dive was like 6 months old by the time it had come out.
Yep.
So even playing that is kind of irrelevant, right?
Yep.
Not irrelevant, but it just doesn't make sense to write about that.
Yeah. And everything you hear on the internet right now and this thing in the chat, there was no playable demo that people played until now. And if there were, they're not going to go out and tell you. They're not going to say, as everyone here said, they're not going to say, oh, I'm under NDA. Yes, I played it, but I can't tell you anything. They can't tell you even that. So don't believe anyone who just comes out in wherever right now until it's official that they played the game. No, they didn't. Simple as that.
I think one of the main sources of misinformation here, I think it was just an honest mistake. It wasn't purposeful. It wasn't malicious, anything like that. But
Yeah, no,
I
it
think
was
other
just
people are using that as an opportunity to
Mhm.
say, hey, they went and played it and stuff like that. So just be careful about
and
those.
that happens a lot where you're in the scripting phase, right? You're scripting for those of us who script videos, which we don't actually script very many of our videos over the Triple S League. We do very little scripting. We do not read off of like a prepared thing, and we can misspeak all the time. And we usually catch it pretty early on. But for people who are in the editing phase, they see something, they'll say something, and if it's missed, if it's just a word incorrect, like some people use those word grammar programs to like help them edit what they're saying properly. And oh my, do those things cause some headaches from time to time? It's like, yes, it's grammatically more correct to say it like this because it actually fits in a grammar thing, but it's also not true. So I mean, normal human editors can make that mistake too, right? They can put a then instead of a then, did instead of a did not. Like these are easy things to kind of miss. And I mean, if you watch news a lot, people mess up on this all the time. They'll say, especially the worst thing when this happens, and it happens a lot, is like criminal stuff, where it's like they say the criminal's name in place of the victim's name, and they meant to say the victim's name, but they just mix it up in their head because they're talking about two things, right? They're talking about two names, and they accidentally mix it up like once, and then people, some people lose their mind over this, and then other people, they just lose sleep over it, right? So it's like obviously they meant this one thing, they didn't mean the other, and I suspect that's what happened here. It was just a slip up,
Yeah,
and that's fine. Like no need to crucify them over a slip up. I think they, as soon as they realized it, as soon as it started getting called out, I think they actually addressed it publicly. So,
and that's something people like, especially journalists, have to realize when talking about Cyberpunk. Everything you put out, because this is something that people are constantly searching for. So if you do put out an article or you do talk about certain thing, and if it's false, there is a huge chance it's going to spread because it's such a trending topic. And then you get misinformation, then you get a lot of that untrue speculation. And it's, as long as you disclose it, that this is speculation, this is not based of something I played, something I've seen, this is just speculation, then it's okay. But with this game coming out, with the release date coming closer and closer, the amount of articles I've seen on the internet that basically recycle old information under a new title, that talk about various things that are not true, and they don't even specify it as speculation or anything like that. So yeah,
It's actually been so annoying to see the like flurry of articles with zero evidence about a potential delay.
yeah,
It's just like pretty much opinion pieces, and people are looking at that as it's fact, and then they're spreading it and saying, "Oh, Cyberpunk is going to get delayed." There's zero evidence for that,
yeah,
as far as I know at this point. So
yeah. So
it's kind of
technically,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it might or it might not. We don't know. There is no official info yet. So yeah, but just coming out saying, "Oh yeah, it's delayed." What? Where do you find that information?
Well, I mean, that's your opinion. Just say it's your opinion, or
Yeah.
like point out at the top and say it's an opinion piece, and that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
sure people will still get confused, but
Yeah.
it's better than not having it, right?
Yeah. And it's one thing to write an article in a way where you're going to say, okay, here is why I think Cyberpunk 2077 might be delayed based on, let's say, older evidence of how The Witcher 3 was developed. But even then, you have to disclose that the company doesn't function in the same way as it did when The Witcher 3 was in development. Now things are more organized and planned so that those things don't happen again, like it did with The Witcher. So, yeah. But as I was saying at the beginning, we expected that something would happen on the 10th of January, because that's the date when we had the first beep. That's the date when the reveal trailer for Cyberpunk 2077 came out. Sadly,
We got 30% off the merch store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's something.
I mean,
it was something. One of my contacts was like, it's like, well, it is something. This was after the fact, and I was like, really? He goes, 30%'s a lot, man. That's like like most of our profit margin. And I'm like, okay, yes, it's okay. Okay, yes, it's a nice thing, but it's not something newsworthy. He's like, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So, or sorry, he and or she, you know. So something's still coming, which is obvious because there's only what, like 10 weeks left, or
Oh my god, 10 weeks.
Yeah,
Thank you,
12 weeks,
Captain
something.
Obvious. We couldn't
yeah,
do that
so
right by
obviously, so no big secret there. Obviously, yes, something's coming sometime soon.
Of
Big
course.
shocker.
The marketing has to go up as the release date is coming out. It's a normal thing. Every single company does that for their product or service.
I'm actually kind of surprised it hasn't, like, nothing has come up this year yet, because Witcher 3 came out in May, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in January they already had hands-on previews. I guess different game, different marketing plan, but
Yeah.
they're kind of
a little bit of a different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping it as a
like
mystery in a
around.
sense.
I feel like it's just around the corner. It just has to be.
Yeah, but that, as Last Known Meal just said, the whole marketing, intended or unintended, because I am not sure if this was an intended strategy on the side of CD Projekt Red,
Yeah.
but good part of the success has been the secrecy.
Mhm.
People wanted to know more because they didn't give any information. I don't
This
know
is
if
true.
at this point this is a good thing to do, because people are already commenting how tired they are of being hyped without information. That worked a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure if at this point it would work. But I'm not sure if this was intentional. Maybe they just didn't have any info to share, and this for a casualty of life, it hyped people a lot.
I think people want to know what they can expect, because like the last couple videos that they've shown, they've always promoted the work in progress element of it, right? So I think they want something a little bit more concrete in terms of expectations, maybe. I think that maybe people are a little bit lost on what to expect here. They have, grandiose expectations or.
Well, I understand that, but the truth is that this is something that people shall know when the game is out.
This is fair, yeah. That's true.
Because also because they are not basing the promotion of the game on the pre-sales, on the pre-orders. They said many times that we're not going to give anything special for people that pre-ordered. If you want to wait and you want to see the game before you want to buy it, it's totally okay. So they can wait until the game is out.
Yeah, they don't have to lure you in with extra stuff for you to pre-order. So that's just one thing out of the way. For everyone who didn't know, there are no pre-order bonuses. Everyone that buys the game, no matter when, gets the same thing. And usually they're going with the same business model like with The Witcher 3. So you'll have free DLCs, you will have soundtrack, art book, and everything that's going to be a part. So that's why I recommend buying it on GOG, because you get all of that stuff. I believe you get it on Steam as well.
That's not totally accurate, because even though CD Projekt Red by himself didn't set any kind of price for pre-ordering, there are other big gaming what's the name of it, stores that are
not
doing their
official,
own their own thing with this.
Yeah, but not official.
There's a lot of
though.
retailers.
Retailers, thank you.
Yeah, that's up to them though. So it's not officially from CD Projekt, if I'm not wrong.
No, but they are all official things. So
so do they have?
I guess they got special
The licensing rights, I guess.
for bugs, for big bugs or something like that.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I'm
There's like
speculating.
steel books and stuff like that, and
But
like
that's only for physical
medallion.
versions, right?
Yes, only for
Yes.
physical versions.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And that's on that end, it's okay. But we still have the arc though. That's not done. They said we're gonna get more info now in 2020, and April is not that far away. And I'm guessing they are going to do more trailers. It's just a normal thing of marketing your game. So I expect at least one.
Yeah, there'll be a launch trailer for sure, 100%.
Yeah, of course. Maybe one more CGI. Who knows? Because they've been pushing CGI a lot with The Witcher 3. They produced, I think, 2 or 3 of them for The Witcher 3.
Killing monsters. There was a one with the griffin where he's using
the
Axie on him, and then there was one more, I think.
With,
there was a launch one, right?
There was one with the Bruxa, I believe.
There was also one with the first cinematic of the game.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the intro with the raven and stuff. Yeah.
That also. So we might expect that in the coming future. But again, I'm guessing, what was the podcast? Was it 51? or 52 that we're
What
gonna
do you mean?
which
the
Oh, it's-
episode.
Oh, and it
So
releases.
when it releases it releases on the next weekday following the what's the exact release date, Mad Queen?
April 16th.
16.
16.
April 16.
Yeah, so our podcast is on the 12th, and that's going to be the 52nd one,
Oh,
and then it's going to release, and then by the 19th, which is going to be the first
Please
first
allow me
podcast
to
of the new
interrupt
year.
you. Please allow me to interrupt you because I found very funny that you addressed the question to me. Like, well, who's the person in here that obsessively memorizes information about that?
Well, I just didn't want to I didn't want to misspeak, so I figured go to the person who's got it all, like there's a number floating around your head. You know how like when you hit your head and there's little birds and stars floating around your head. Madqueen has the release date of Cyberpunk 2077 floating around her head. So yeah, the 12th, which is the Sunday in April, that's going to be our 52nd episode. And then the 19th, which is the next podcast that is after the official release, is our 53rd, which will be the first one of the new, basically of the new year. And again, how about that?
then
I mean,
more.
The new
how about that?
Cyberpunk New Year.
It was almost as if that was planned.
We should have started
Oh,
earlier, and then we
it's
could have gotten
nuts.
to the 77th podcast.
Oh,
and
imagine
then
that.
it released.
That would be genius. But we gotta
Maybe
do
we
something.
didn't we didn't know each other back then, so you know it was
This is true.
that would have been
Yeah.
that would have been pushing it a little bit. So
That's
No, it's
Well,
pretend.
that's not true. I except Neon. I knew Last Known Meal and I knew.
yeah.
Triple
We had a podcast a long time before this podcast started, I believe. So
Yes, and we also did a video on the artificial
Yes.
intelligence as well. Well, the Last Known Meal was a character that was an artificial intelligence. That was a netrunner that was in favor of the artificial intelligence rights, and he was talking about it.
Wait, I need a link. I need a link to this right now.
the symbiosis between.
I need a
yeah.
link here, ladies and gentlemen. I need to
Oh,
watch.
let me look for it. Let me look for it. It's obviously on
Yeah.
my channel.
Oh, it's been a while since we did that video.
Sounds like a classic.
I have a cool voice there. I have a really cool voice because I'm not much of a voice actor at all, zero. So I'm like, oh God, how do I approach this? How do I?
How long ago is this? A couple years?
Maybe I did.
Maybe on the
No,
half, I
I'll
think.
find the video now, and I will tell you.
Yeah, link it in the chat. I think people in the chat want to see it too.
I mean, the tent was actually really good for all the Witcher fans. Just to also talk about that, Artosorian released more info about their upcoming Witcher Beastery, Witcher Journals, which is going to be an addition towards the Witcher tabletop RPG. It's not the game. It's not the game, people. And they introduced a new Witcher, Erland of Larvik, who is the founder of the Griffin School and also one of the first Witchers. So, yeah, you can also
That's
learn more
epic.
about. Yeah, that's true. I'm glad that they're working together with CD Projekt on this. And just to clarify one thing, the character was created by Cody Pondsmith, but it was approved by CD Projekt Red. So it actually that it correlates with their universe. So it's not like fan fiction or anything like that. Okay.
typing.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mute myself. I thought I was muted. Sorry, I put in the chat the video that the Last Known Meal voice is from. It's from 2018.
So can't play it. God damn it. We also wanted to talk about. I think you mentioned that, Sip, about the male model of the V.
So this was brought up on our podcast yesterday, where the McFarlane default V statue was dropped. Now this, again, not created directly by CDPR, but officially licensed by CDPR directly. So this is very important. This is not a half-cocked thing. This is 100% a sponsored thing by them. And they had final say in whether or not it passed mustard or not. So, sorry, passed muster, not past mustard. That's a different colloquialism. So this is really interesting because default V does not look like trailer V. There's obviously lots of similarities with the jacket and the weapons and all that kind of stuff, but there's a considerable difference between his look of his facial features and definitely also of his hairstyle. So this led to some interesting theory crafting from myself, and I have this idea that default V is different from trailer V because the trailer V that we've been seeing thus far is playing down what you might call the losing side, right? Like especially if Jackie, what happens to Jackie is a scripted thing, then that's one thing. But if it's not scripted, and if you can save Jackie, if you manage to succeed in the mission and saving him in a different way than in losing him, then we have a trailer V that is going down the more darker path. And this is kind of interesting because when you look at certain games, like when you look at some games, right, there's a what's a good example? Let's pick an example I don't typically use. Let's pick Fallout 1. So Fallout 1, you have the default character is actually the lore characters, the character who proceeded as per the lore of the game series. So as the game series, the Vault Dweller, the one who left, the one who saved the Vault 13, was the first male default option, which was the lawyer type slash beefy guy, not the strongest, dumbest guy, or the girl who left the vault. It was the male, and they did that so that they could write a story about that default character.
Mm-hmm.
And how when the second game came around, you had an official story of what happened. In the first game, you could of course save all your companions. Excuse me, I had to cough. But you could also lose a lot of your companions. And in the official story of what happened, he lost many of his companions through the journey of Fallout 1. Many of his friends ended up dying, and then he ended up marrying one of them, and that was the person that he ended up having grandkids with, or children and children with. You can't have grandkids with you. And then they had the grandkids, obviously. So that's the official story of what happened. So CDPR might be doing something a little bit different in this perspective. Another good example to kind of just mention is the Mass Effect series, where you have the one character, but then you have the kind of the go-to default thing, and that default thing is the quote unquote the official thing. Like did Shepard have red hair, or did he have dark grayish black hair?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the question. Only one of those are canonically correct, whilst obviously it's not something that again you're forced to breathe with. Another question that we had was, why do companies do this? Like, why do companies do this when you have a character creator? Why do they create a default version, and then why do they shove that default version down your throat? And the answer is that they're not shoving it down your throat. They are they're creating a canon version so that there's less confusion on it going forward. And I think everybody agrees with me. If you see a picture of default Shepard,
Yeah.
even though you never ever played the game as default Shepard, let alone played it as a male, right? Like in my example, I played it as Femme Shepard all the way through. There's just no. But the vast majority of people seeing a default picture of Commander Shepard will say that's Commander Shepard, or that's default Commander Shepard. I played a different Commander Shepard.
Mm-hmm. It's just about brand recognition. They have to do that.
Exactly.
I have a totally different theory, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sorry to insist on that, but the V of the trailer is Martin Nivinsky. I mean, this nose is unmistakable. It's Martin Nivinsky when he was 20-something.
Really think his fantasy.
And the funny thing about that is that I can totally picture the people at CD Projekt doing it without being his idea. Because when you talk with them and they talk about the boss, even in private conversations, when they they do say what they really think about it. And if they didn't like the guy, they would say everybody's in love with him. Everybody. They all love him. They all think he's awesome, that he's an excellent person. I mean, what kind of person you need to be the boss and people adoring you? Everybody hates the boss always. And I can totally picture the people at CD Projekt putting him in the game just because they adore him. So yes, I totally. People say that it looks like V looks like a singer.
There's a Polish rapper. He looks identical too. So I'm gonna link it in the chat here.
Yes, but it's a CD Projekt game, and the guy suspiciously looks a lot like Marcin Iwiński. So what I'm going to think that is Marcin Iwiński or a rapper.
It's a Polish
Well,
rapper.
and here's my thought on that, and this kind of follows with that. I think trailer V looks like, you know, what you're saying, but then I think the default V, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he looks like his voice actor. Is that not a possible thing? Because I'll tell you this for sure. Female default V, the one that we've seen in the trailers, she looks a lot like her voice actress, like a lot. And having been in the personal presence of her a number of times, I can tell you for sure there's a lot of similarities. Like, she's a short girl, and her face very, very, very similar. Obviously a little bit younger, obviously more robotic, right? Right? But very different, very, very different. So very interesting, and something that's worthy of noting is that perhaps they've modeled the default V after the voice actor, and they've modeled the trailer V after, you know, possibly Martin or somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the default one has hair, right? Like longer hair than the trailer.
Yeah. It's quite bushy.
Yeah, like the one on the statue. The statue is the default V.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny because in Death Stranding, everybody's modeled after the actors that they portray, and I'm very used to listen to Troy Baker, but I never bothered to look for his face. And he was in Death Stranding, and I saw the character, and I thought, he's also modeled after Troy Baker. Oh my God, I didn't know he was so hot. Honest thought. Well, the game is quite bad, so everything that you can find to like is welcome.
Yeah, I'm yet to actually go deeper into that game. God damn it.
I am so sorry, but I'm always advising people to, instead of playing the game, go to one of those channels that does the film of the game, because they cut all the cutscenes and they put them together to create a film. Because as a film, it's fantastic, but the gameplay is just...
Yeah, no doubt that. On that end, Hideo is really good with this. He should just continue and make films. I mean, games as well, but films. I like his films. I like the feeling he has in his cutscenes, like in his games. Especially like how crazy he can go with characters and everything. It's like a very serious scene, yet you know one character is standing out. But yeah. So regarding the model of V, I know there was a lot of changes with the male V as well. It happens in production. People get more polished faces, they go with a different feel. If the overall atmosphere of the game, if the art design of the game kind of changes a bit, that also can reflect on the faces and how people generally look in the game.
Oh, I just remembered something, and it's a completely different subject. Do you mind if I change the subject?
Yes.
I saw on Maul's Cosplay's Instagram that he's participating in a short film, in a Cyberpunk 2077 short film that is fan-made. And it seems that the project is becoming more ambitious than what they thought in the first place. And it sounds really good. Well, I don't know if you saw the short film for The Witcher that he did some time ago. It was good. So it's very interesting. They're looking for people to participate. So if you are in Germany, then sorry, if you know Mal Cosplay, and if you don't, you should to start with. Look for him and his Instagram. He's talking about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
In German, though, I managed to understand just a tiny little bit, but not the specifics, though. And he does amazing cosplay. Like the Geralt cosplay he did, man.
Yeah.
Like
And the V, he was on the
yes, of course,
V.
yes. Like the quality of that cosplay is impeccable. Everything due from just the cosmetics, the quality of their outfits, of the armor they make, of jackets they make. It's crazy what they do, for real.
I wonder how long these things take. Like, how long does it take from start to finish to make one, say the V cosplay in its entirety?
He has making of videos. I believe that he explains. I think I'm not totally sure, but I think that weeks. He made a video on the cosplay he did for Borderlands 3. That was fantastic, and I think it took him 3 weeks. Not totally positive that I remember correctly though.
Yeah.
That's
I think
actually
he was
not
also
too bad.
doing live streams when he was working on something. So yeah, check out his channel. The man has some amazing stuff. And yeah, whenever CD Projekt Red does something, he's there. I think every game in the future, he's gonna be one of their official cosplayers.
And we're not going to complain. Not going to complain.
No.
Because apart from
Doesn't
being-
didn't his wife play the female V?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're both great, for real.
Apart from being an excellent and talented cosplayer, he's an excellent person, and he's so funny. And when I went to E3 in 2018, he was there with the jacket of V, and I wanted to check what there was written in the jacket because I was working on the video of explaining the trailer. So I went with the light of my phone and I asked him if I could inspect his jacket. And he
Hey,
said,
nice to meet you. Can I inspect your jacket?
yeah, it was something like that actually. So I took my phone and I took pictures of everything that had a text on it. And I thought, well, I hope that there is nothing written on the pants because otherwise this is going to get really weird. But yeah, it was the exact same jacket. It was fantastic.
My God. Yeah, we need one of those jackets. For real. They look so cool. And there's a number of people. I saw the one cosplayer, I think you edited video for him.
So the locust?
Yeah, his cosplay is also great.
Yeah.
Like what he created looks really nice.
Have you guys seen the finalists for the contest? They're insane. There's a Lizzie Wizzy one where the I don't know how she did it, but she's like all chrome. She made an entire mold of her body or something and stepped into it. It's crazy.
I think that's called body paint.
Was it body paint? No, I don't think it was.
I suspect that most of it's body paint. That obviously some parts are not going to be body paint, but that's not too hard to do.
It seems latex texture more than paint texture.
It
Yep.
looked like
Really?
a shell to me.
Like really tight, maybe. Really tight latex. Something like
No, but there's this latex that you can paint all over you.
that. Really?
And it gives a shiny look, so you can paint it with chrome.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes more sense. My God. And yeah, cosplaying is huge. It's actually like I didn't know about it. Like I know, like I followed cosplay, but when I actually started talking with people who are cosplayers and everything they do, that's huge. Like
I feel like it's gotten incredibly more popular as in the last couple of years. I don't even remember hearing about cosplay. Maybe I don't know 4 or 5 years ago. But maybe
really?
No,
I think
I disagree.
No.
And Sabi's going to disagree with me.
yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, no, I think it's because I've been involved in the just in the general like community of anime and
Yeah, I was gonna say the
stuff for a
anime
lot
fans.
longer.
Yeah.
Because like I've been going to like conventions and stuff for well over a decade now, and I mean that used to be commonplace. I mean, hell, it used to be commonplace to back in the very first back when they did episode 1 for Star Wars. I was there on opening not opening night, the next opening night.
Nice.
And we had, I happened to be working a place where they had an enormous amount of costumes. And so we actually went in like full cosplay. This was before it was kind of known as cosplay, because this was a very, 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 very long time ago. And we all like piled out of this vehicle in costume, and we thought we'd be the only ones. And we got there, and everybody that had been camping out in the lineup for the last like 3 days, they were also mostly in costume. And there was lots of people who took pictures, and I was like, wow, this could become a thing. And I remember one of the guys who had dressed up, he goes, no, this is going to be a thing. This is a silly thing that you do once in your life. And I'm like, no, I think there's something to this.
I thought it was normal. I cosplayed for the 3 films of the Lord of the Rings. I think I have pictures somewhere dressed as an elf, and I cosplayed for all the Star Wars films that I've seen it on theaters, except the last trilogy. And I also cosplayed when I was 7 years old. I went to when they put the film years after release. I don't know what's the name of it in English, of Labyrinth. And I cosplayed as David Bowie with 7 years. I'm the fucking queen of nerds.
I suppose Halloween is just cosplay, isn't it? It's like mainstream cosplay.
Well, cosplay is when you go as a specific character. Halloween is more that you go like for a
General
concept, a general thing. Like you cosplay as a witch, but it's not a cosplay. That's a costume. If you are one particular witch and you pretend to emulate 100% of the looks, that's cosplay.
Yeah, and what Paul does with his armor, Jesus, how do they make that armor?
Latex.
Yeah, for real.
I'd imagine a lot of it
again,
is
the
3D printed.
details.
I had a friend that did that, has a company that makes armors and weapons for cosplay. He's an asshole, but he's very talented.
I hate to break the mold, but there's like lots of artists are a little bit assholey, but it's part of the thing, right? Like there's lots of artists who aren't, and who are very nice, wonderful people. And I can't reiterate enough, one of the nicest people you will ever meet, one of the most calm, level-headed person who's taught me a lot when it comes to interacting with people. Probably one of the bigger influences is the voice actress for Female V, and I always butcher her name, but Miss Lay, Sheremy Lay. I have seen her deal with some absolutely fanatical, crazy fans who are so cringeworthy, and she does it with a level of grace and calmness that shocks me to, like, anytime I think about it, still shocks me. The fact that she's so calm around people who are so, like, you know, they're so excited to be talking to somebody that they like as a professional actor or what have you, that they're like, that they can't contain themselves, they're spilling over themselves, they're far too handsy, they're far too, like, doing things that are just socially, not, because it also comes with the field that some fans obviously aren't going to be, well versed in that kind of stuff, and yet she handles it perfectly every single time. Never seen her roll her eyes. I've met lots of actors that hate being in public places because some of them are introverts, right? And they're really good on film. They're really good on camera. Colin Mockery, if you know Whose Line Is It Anyway? Colin Mockery is he is this brilliant actor who does absolutely amazing, like, spur of the moment type stuff. That's his whole bit is like this comedy that's dry, that's live, that's unscripted. You meet him in person, and if you, like, start to speak with him, he's going to start, his hands are going to start sweating. He's going to start to get really nervous because he's really a hardcore introvert, and he's not used to dealing or speaking with people on that level. But you put him in front of a crowd and you tell him to make some joke about, being bald, and immediately he's got some of the greatest jokes ever. And so there are some actors, obviously two sides of the coin. But yeah, she's probably one of the best I've ever seen. And she deals with some like really passionate people, and she does it in such a really professional way. So it's pretty amazing overall.
Well, I'm glad to have her as a female V, man. It's amazing. Yeah, that's just the thing with that some people don't understand. We generally, from actors to YouTubers, to when you reach a certain point, let's say you have 1 million subscribers, whatever, or you do a film or a series that becomes huge, it has their own fandom, there's gonna be people involved in that project, specifically actors who don't really want to be that famous. They don't want to be approached by the fans every time they want to buy groceries. And I sometimes do understand frustration. That's why sometimes you do have those moments on camera that like, oh, this person is not good, he's an asshole, this or that actor or actress, whatever. It's like, sometimes people just want to have a private life outside of their, professional life. And
well, that too, and it's like I encourage people in general. It's like don't assume that an actor who you see on the street, or you happen to see them in some place. I've seen Nathan Fillion in person once or twice in private, like he's in a grocery store, and he's doing his thing. He's got his parents with him. They're going to pick up dinner for the evening. It's like, it's not, you don't want to just walk up and interrupt them doing that kind of like day-to-day life stuff. Like that's kind of rude in some cases. Yes, I know who Nathan Fillion is.
A lot of the time it just feels like I'm sure it feels like a business interaction too, because you go up to someone famous and all you want is really a picture for your Instagram or something like that, right? You're not really there to talk to them and say, hey, what are you doing? Like, what's the new movie that you're working on or something like that?
Yeah.
Just to say hi. It's like, hey, can I get a picture with you? And then you just
Nathan's kind of funny because he I'll tell you what he's done before, which is really kind of funny. He'll routinely, when he's in especially when he's seeing his parents, every once in a while he'll take like a hat, or he'll take like some kind of like paraphernalia or something, and he'll sign it, and then he'll place it somewhere, and then he'll take a picture of it, tweet it out, and be like, first person here gets it. And it's like that's cool. And
Neil Gaiman does that. When he flies, he goes to the library on the airport and he picks his books and signs them.
Who does that?
Neil
Nathan
Gaiman.
Fillion. Oh, sorry.
Neil Gaiman does that with his own books in airports when he has to fly to places.
Interesting.
Wow. Yeah. So on that side, it's just have people like some. I mean, generally when you're at convention, I think that's the best time to approach anyone, or a festival, because usually they're there to interact or do some cool stuff. And I've been to a lot of film festivals, for example, not a lot of gaming ones, and usually there you meet a lot of actors and actresses and producers, and some of them don't want to be, but most of them are cool if you approach them, if it's a normal public place.
Well, do you know how much are they paid to be there to start with? Actors go to film festivals to promote the films they are working on, and first, being there is part of their agreement with the production company, and second, they're paid a lot to be there, so they better smile.
Yep.
Well, it's kind of like
depends. Yeah.
It's kind of like so somebody was talking about a movie recently where one of the actors, like he lost like 35 pounds or something like that to get into this role, and he slaved away in this really cold weather, and they're like, oh, and he really deserves some award or whatever. And I was like, oh, he did it just so that he could get the award, or was it the $25 million that he got paid to do the role? I mean, I'd do the same thing for $25 million, work for almost a year in cold weather. It's like that's kind of normal.
Really fast, because I remember that went viral, this scene between Scarlett Johansson and Kylo Ren. I can't remember his name.
Adam Driver,
thank you. And people were freaking out like, oh, they didn't improvise anything. They memorized the dialogues. People, did you ever watch a play? I mean, people memorize the whole play. The whole play.
Yeah.
That's the job of an actor. Oh my God, I freaked out because an actor can do their job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find this weird that there's an expectation that actors are supposed to be the person that they're playing, not act as the person that they're portraying.
Well, there
It's
are
like,
people that have this method, that follow the method.
Yeah. But if there is one thing I learned, the bigger the star, the more humble they are. And I've seen that firsthand.
a lot of times, yes, because
Yeah.
let me quickly put this one out. There are big name actors, really big name actors. I've been on a couple filming sets in my life, and there are some actors that are an absolute nightmare, little divas, impossible to work with. You know what? They don't get many job offerings once they get to a certain crazy point. If you're known as an ultra diva and you're super hard to work with, and you're going to cost the film crew millions upon millions of dollars in delays and tantrums, you're not getting called the next time. And there's one actor who was really like this.
Isn't that why Christian Bale no longer gets roles?
Nah,
I heard
Christian Bale still gets roles. And that one rant that he did that got on, that was because I'm not going to defend him too much. The rant was obviously way too much and was inexcusable. Just as a courtesy thing, he should have gone to the director and had a conversation in private. But there was a guy whose job it was to set the lighting up. That's your job. And if you can't do that within the specified time, then either it's an unrealistic expectation or you're not good at your job. It's one of those two things. There's nothing in between that. And so in some cases, an actor can lose it because they're wasting time, right? You've got to be in another country shooting a different movie in a week, and somebody is causing delay after delay after delay after delay because they're not good at the job. Obviously, you're going to lose some people are going to lose their crap, and that's justifiable. Making a rant in public, not the way to go. That's where you go to the person who's in charge privately and be like, hey, we need to have a talk about this person because I think this is ruining, this is not helping such and such, and you be gracious with that. But yeah, I remember there's one guy whose name rhymes with Hal Tilmer. The reason why he doesn't get jobs anymore is because he is a nightmare to work with, and and then there's no, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get too.
I have a very funny anecdote about the differences between actors because I go to a cinema festival I went there for years, and as I've been involved in productions, I usually have a production pass, which means that I usually hang around in the VIP zones. So I came to meet a lot of superstars, and that's why I disagree with you. Sometimes big names are huge assholes. Mm-hmm. And there was this year that there was someone, I won't name the name because I don't like bashing people, but I'm talking about the big name. And he was there. He was paid to be there by the production company to promote the film. So basically his job was to attend fans. And he got tired of signing autographs and he didn't want to sign anymore. And when he was asked, he just said no. Mm-hmm. And this, started to people started to talk about it around the festival and on Twitter and on Instagram. And some hours later, it was like the news everywhere. And then Eli Roth, who was also hanging around the festival, was really tired of this attitude and started to complain. And what he did, he went to the most crowded part of the festival on the most crowded hour with his arms extended, shouting, "I am here! Who wants a picture? Who wants an autograph? I am not an asshole. I am here for you. I love my friends."
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean,
Henry Roth is just the sweetest person ever. I mean, it's very funny because you see him in films that are like super gory, and you expect like he has a stronger, different character, and then he's like total sweetheart.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's the opposite of that I'd like to mention, because I think it deserves to be mentioned. In the final days of oh dear, I can't remember his name now. Oh, this is bad. Sorry, I get these occasional
Typing.
brain farts. Yeah, Stanley. So in the final days of Stanley, bless his heart, and much respect to him as a brilliant creator. There was a couple of times where he could barely hold a pen at these like signing events, and people were still like, sign this. It's like I know this is your last chance to get him to sign something, but the guy can barely stay awake. Like you could tell that there was something seriously wrong with him, and some people were like, sign this, please, you have to sign this. It's like, at what point can you just say thank you and then walk away? It's like,
I mean, they're human beings at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah. And this was, of course, in a very, very extreme case, because it was like, I think it was like 6 months or something like that to when he died. And it was really, really rough. And as we found out later on, and as we're still finding out through the court, there's still lots of stuff going on with it. He was, there's serious allegations that he was under elder abuse, and that the guards around him were there controlling him as much as were protecting him, which is really, really scary. And again, allegations. I don't think there's been any really big movement in one way or another when it comes to the rulings out on that. So we don't know exactly what's been going on. Justice hasn't ruled yet, and hopefully justice will be found for that. But yeah, that was really rough. That was really, really rough then. So anyways,
Now,
yeah.
Now, talking about films and TV series, there was one thing which has been kind of popping off after the Witcher Netflix came out, and that is the possibility of having a Cyberpunk film or a series. Now that the Witcher is out, and we've been discussing about this topic a couple of episodes back, and now that the Witcher is out and became a worldwide sensation, god damn it, I honestly did not expect that it's gonna go and grow so big.
I didn't have time to watch it.
I haven't finished it either, man.
I didn't have time to watch it.
You
I
should.
hardly have time to sleep.
I watched it
Watch
at
it in my
midnight.
sleep.
I watched the first episode at midnight, and then I haven't watched anything past that, and I feel so bad.
Well,
Damn it.
well, you should. And on the other side, talking about the Cyberpunk series, there's a couple of things you have to take into account. First off, people have to see how well does Cyberpunk do. Obviously, Witcher doing well is a huge plus for someone, because they're going to say, okay, there is potential here to earn money, because ultimately, when people are making this, it's, to make money, and doesn't mean that it's going to be bad or this or that, but, money is the ultimate factor that determines if someone is going to go into production or not. No one wants to lose money. So in a sense, first off, the game has to come out, and then the second one, it has to be decided what is it going to be adapted, or is it going to be adapted at all. If The Witcher came out, it doesn't mean that there is a 100% chance that we're ever going to see Cyberpunk film or a series, and based on the Cyberpunk by Artel Sorian, not Cyberpunk in general. We already have those. And then you have to take into account that this trend of actually having Cyberpunk as popular has to go on for many years. And because we are moving into that future more and more, I mean, we are in it right now, but as it is becoming more and more popular, as people are getting, in contact with technology, that technology is getting advanced every single day, of course, this topic is going to be relevant. So it might, but trust me, it's not coming out anytime soon at all.
it kind of has to establish itself a little bit more, and then
Yeah.
I'm sure they're playing around with the idea. It's being tossed around because it is so popular.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk, right? The pre-orders absolutely crushed Witcher
Mhm.
3's pre-orders. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to come for some time.
Mm.
And it might not even be a Netflix thing, right? It could be a
Yeah.
movie. It could be a bunch of different things.
Or we don't know if it's gonna be a thing at all. Just
Mhm.
keep that. We know that Mike Pondsmith is open to that, and he said, I believe last year, I have that video on my channel, that it has to be different. It's not going to be the same approach, in a sense how he handles the video game, and if potentially one day he's going to handle that kind of an adaptation. But whatever it is, it has to be a huge studio, because to create a believable world like that in a live action, man. But there's also a chance for an animated. I would also dig that, to have animated series or an animated film. In a sense, it's not less expensive at all than live action. Animation can be expensive as hell. So yeah,
Mhm.
what do you think about this?
I'd like to see an anime. I think there was a Blade Runner anime, if I'm not mistaken. I forget what it's called now, but it was a short film on YouTube that did pretty well. And that was really cool. At the very least, I'd like to see something like that
Yeah.
in the future.
The Castlevania one on Netflix,
Netflix, yeah.
the visually very, very good.
Mhm.
I did not like the way that they released it. It was like, hey, here's 4 small short episodes, and I know animation takes a long time, but yeah, it did decently well. So I think there's an option. I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of anime in general. Like it's a very good art form. It allows us to see things that we don't normally get to see, and I think that's a very good thing to have more of that. It's always good to have more instead of less of pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it ultimately is going to help the brand. I mean, CD Projekt is in a very interesting position. Like, for them, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does, obviously. For example, The Witcher, it was a success. It helps them in sales, but it wouldn't damage them at all. Like, they wouldn't damage the brand in a sense if the show flopped, because people would still have, the games to turn to, in a sense. So even with Cyberpunk, who knows? Like, usually when you have a huge studio right now in the world we are living in, it's not about films anymore, like in a form of art. It's about brand. How big of a brand I can create, and to have already a brand which is established, like for example The Witcher, you already have the groundwork laid out for you, in a sense. You just have to make it good, so you can have a huge markets of people. Same with Cyberpunk. Having a brand like this, which is already built from all these years, from tabletop to video game to everything else, it's a very nice, thing to have. And I'm guessing some studio would love to get their hands on this, just because of how much money it can generate.
yeah, and I think that's I could see the anime industry easily flipping to a cyberpunk dystopia thing. I mean, it's kind of a pillar in anime in general, but like mecha anime, it's kind of on the out right now. It's been like the biggest thing right now in anime is obviously the going to the other world isekai genre, and most of that's fantasy based. So that's the majority of what we're getting currently. Not exclusively by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the majority of what we're getting right now. And I would like to see, I would like to see a more of like a cyberpunky type thing. I think that would do well. And again, it's like there's lots of excellent examples of it. So yeah, there's something that we could get probably.
Yeah, I mean, just Yaiba Kusanagi Akira.
Well, they're making the Akira
they're-
live
and
action,
they're
right?
They're
Yeah.
redoing Akira, and they're doing a live action of it at the same time, I believe. or is this one of those projects? I'm not sure which, but yeah, if it's that huge of a thing, then yeah, we're looking at potentially that might be the next. Everything moves in genres, right? Especially in anime, especially, it's like big genres come in, and while it's not the only thing that you get, it's the biggest thing that you get, and it stays around for a few years, and then it's replaced, and then it's replaced, and then it's replaced, and then it's replaced, and then it's replaced. So this is how anything goes, right? Like we've never had so much sword and fantasy TV to watch, and now looks like there's a chance. I keep hearing. I heard the other day. It's like looks like the Buffy remake is going through. So we might have another
really.
We might have another deluge of vampires and that kind of fantasy coming in it again, which is like.
Well, I guess they did, because the reboot of Sabrina was one of the series of which was Sabrina. That was a remake, and the remake was quite successful. So I guess that this opened the door to remake the series.
Yeah.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yes, this one.
They remade that.
Yes, but the original was like super cheerful and like for kids, and the new one is very dark.
Yeah, very dark and gritty. It's like the Archie series. Like. And I'm still upset about that. I don't know who else is. I know that it's very popular. My younger siblings really like the show, and
Riverdale,
I'm like,
right?
Riverdale, yeah. And I'm like, how did this go from Archie and Jughead, telling clean jokes, to Archie's banging the teacher? Spoiler alert! It's like, what? Excuse me? What? The ever living has happened here, and excuse me, this is not the Riverdale I know. It's like, good.
Well, it looks to me like they are doing the remakes for the adult versions of the people that saw them as kids.
Yeah, no, and I get that, and I've even argued for that before, but it was like, wow, that was a shock. I was like, I don't know if I can keep watching this.
And remakes now are a huge thing, because they're aiming for that nostalgia effect. Probably saw Capcom is printing out games like crazy. We have Resident Evil 3 coming out now. It's like, when is it, in April or something like that? And they were like, and all thanks to their engine. So yeah, all of these, remakes and remasters are happening in every industry right now. Gaming industry, film industry, TV industry, whatever, television.
You know what I would love to see as a TV show? As a legitimately like 3 or 4 season arc, I think that's probably about as much as you could squeeze into it, would be American McGee's version of Alice in Wonderland. That would be a good show. Yeah. Talk about scarring the memory of friendly cartoons as a kid.
Well, the Tim Burton tried, and he was doing a remake of Dumbo. Dumbo, what's the name in English?
Dumbo, the elephant?
Yes. And the elephant is super scary. I don't know if they changed the...
Why would... Tim Burton seems like an odd fit for Dumbo, anything Dumbo related.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is a known fact, but Tim Burton started his career working on Disney and working on animated features. He was an animator, and the first short films he did, they were made with Disney money. And actually, it was he was working on Disney when he invented all the characters for The Nightmare Before Christmas. And as he had a contract with Disney, everything that he created while he worked there belongs to Disney. So that's why The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Disney film. Although they released it with another publisher that belongs to Disney, but it's more for adults, which is Touchstone Pictures.
Yeah, same with the war movies that Disney occasionally makes. It's like, obviously they're not going to release it as a Disney movie. They release it under another name, but it's still owned by Disney.
It's funny because when it became famous, then it was promoted like a film by Disney, and you could go to the Disney stores and buy merchandising of The Nightmare Before Christmas. But before that, you went to a Disney store looking for Jack Skellington, and they almost called security on you.
It's too scary for the kids.
Nick in the chat here he wants a rated R gory version of Tom and Jerry. I hate to burst your excitement there, but that already exists. There's 2 different versions of it. The first one's called what's the Simpson
Itchy and Scratchy.
Itchy and Scratchy show, and the other one is called Happy Tree Friends. If you've
God.
never seen Happy Tree
Oh
Friends,
my God, that was horrible.
congratulations! You're about to embark on a wonderful adventure of nauseating. Just nauseation.
Do they still make
I
those?
have a figure of the Happy Tree Friends that I bought in the States.
Last I heard, they are not. They have been compiling some into like long form episodes, but from what I heard, it's basically like the production of it has ceased due to some stuff. So I don't think there's anything new. If there is, they're coming out very, very slowly. There was a time period where they were putting out a short every week. But if you're missing that, Cyanide and Happiness will also fill that void of like, as far as like new content with not quite as gory, but a little bit within that same
Just crude.
genre.
Science is asking for a remake of Tales from the Crypt. I believe that they were in talks for making a remake of Tales from the Crypt. I don't know what happened with this.
I think it's on ice. The Goosebumps thing was rebooted with Jack Black. Didn't really have the sense didn't really have the success that they were hoping for. It was an okay film. It was good.
You can't remake Goosebumps. Come on.
I think
that in the back in the day.
I think the Jack Black thing worked. I don't think we need more of them, but I think it was an okay thing. I still think that they should return it to an actual TV series, not with Jack Black, but just covering like, the independent story. Same with Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's another great example. Are You Afraid of the Dark is another really, really good one. I mean, I love that stuff back in the day. Another one that I would personally kill for would be like Secret
Freaky
World of Alex
stories.
Mack. Yeah, I like that stuff. It was always interesting. But now I'm writing my own, so that's cool.
Has ever anyone seen Moments? You probably never heard about that. Yeah, Moments. It's a huge thing in Norway and in Bosnia. It's like it's an anime in a sense, but and they were putting it out for kids. But there's some goddamn scenes when there is no blood and gore obviously, but there are some scenes that are so goddamn scary. I was like, how the hell can they put out children? This is because there is this beast that comes at their door, and it's like that you have fog, and it's like they cannot get out of the house, and just standing there looking at them. It's like doesn't blink, doesn't move. It's like, oh,
this is for kids.
Yeah,
this is how they toughen up the Bosnian kids. They scare the shit out of them.
Well, usually good scary films are a metaphor for mental illnesses. So maybe it's a great way to explain them to kids.
Yeah.
Isn't that like? I think someone's mentioned that's like the premise of SpongeBob. Like each of the characters have some sort of mental illness or something. It's like.
I mean, you can explain that, but you can explain that through a lot of.
Or was it Adventure Time? I think it might have been Adventure Time. My bad.
I think. Well, this goes into what I was saying is that I think you can accurately say that to most animation type things, like Rick and Morty is a good example of it too, where it's like, yeah, you could find some mental illness for all of them. Yeah, that's pretty common. I did a study on autism, like clinically proven autism, not the tag word that people throw around online. The country with the most is Japan, and there's just something about their population where they have like 200 times the amount of people with autism. It's like one in I can't remember the exact numbers now off the top of my head, but it's significantly more than the rest of the world. And it's affected their culture significantly because you see a lot of that stuff. And is one of the reasons why anime is so popular amongst people with autism is because the emotions are overdone and the colors are pastel and clear, and it helps to translate things that are not easy to translate for people who can't understand regular human emotion. It's like the normie stuff going on, and so I think that has a connection within a lot of animation and shows like that, and it helps. It does.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm just glad that you're able to actually implement that and talk about that in that way. I think you could talk about a lot of things through just art, in a sense, through video games, and whoever says that video games shouldn't tackle certain issues, come on. We passed the time of having a ping pong as a video game. Maybe it's time to have now actual games that talk about stuff that are more immersive in a sense. And when you look at all of like the games that are being made now, they're like full-fledged films. Like when I was playing God of War, I felt like I was watching a film. And just being a part of that experience, not like I'm playing a game, blah, blah. It's like you're a part of that experience. It's something crazy. That's why in a sense, I don't oppose the choice that CD Projekt Red made with the first person, in a sense, because it gives me that. But again, that's subjective. Everyone experiences immersion in their own way.
Be careful with that subject. Be careful.
Quickly mute Cyb.
That's what I said respectfully.
To retouch on this other subject, Anna Ormeli, Ormeli. She's the one who did we were talking earlier about the Lizzie Wizzy Chrome version, and yes, that's who did the Chrome version of the Lizzie Wizzy, and it is a sectional suit that she's wearing. It's not body paint, so I'm going to correct myself there. I think there's a little bit of body paint involved, but it appears to be majority is like actually like fitted chrome external like
that's
sheet.
what it looked like. I knew it.
Yeah. So you were right 100%, and it looks really awesome. Like
it does look cool. Yeah,
it's phenomenal. It is like it's not like it doesn't stand up to like super close inspection, but I don't think that there's a way that you could do that unless you went like 100% like full latex suit or full body paint. And even then that's pretty difficult to pull off with that level of chrome shine. It's like you can do silverized paint, but I think getting chrome paint to actually stay on you is I would assume that there's some difficulty with that.
Well, after the success of the last film of Mad Max, there was this brand that made paintings for cakes that had a spray that was silver, that was chromed. Did you watch the film? Because it's a very representative scene of the film, and they ran out of this spray, this painting spray for cakes, because obviously you could eat it. It wasn't toxic. Maybe that was also I didn't think about it when we talked about it before, but now I remember this brand that made the Witness Me spray.
Yeah.
Shiny and Chrome. That was Shiny and Chrome.
That's another series that I'm surprised we haven't gotten another movie of, or rumors of another movie, because that did really well. I would have thought that they would have come up with another one by now, but
maybe internal production issues.
That was like way back in 2015 too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Fury Road came out in 2015, did it? Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I had expected to at least hear about another thing, because of all these studios trying to chase like giant, multi-movie series.
It expands in expanded universe. They made comic books and they're doing all the things around Fury Road.
Yeah, because the ending was pretty open-ended, wasn't it? They were like stranded in the desert or something.
Yeah, there was a game that didn't do very well.
God, I have to rewatch that film. I forgot everything about it. Yeah, Witness Me, I didn't forget that. Just to answer Dorian Gray, I mean, Bioshock is purely political, but it never told you how to process it. And that's something why I love in Cyberpunk, as Mike Pondsmith said. I'm laying out the things for you to see and think about, and it's not going to be shoved in your face. You ultimately make your decision and process information.
Well, we must also say that some people consider that just showing the things, consider that is shoving it in your face. It's like, no, I'm just showing, and you
Yeah.
can think by yourself. I mean, I understand that there are days when you want to play a game and you don't want to think. So there are also a lot of games to do that. You can play. You can always play Doom. Yeah, okay, it talks about the greed of mega corporations, but it's not like a super deep game. And if you want an easy fun, you can play that. And that's it. But video games are a form of art, and as such, they have the right of be able to explore all the topics they want to explore.
Yeah, I stand corrected. Kalenko in the chat. You are correct. I dug up a very recent article, just a few days old, where yes, they are starting to work on a new one.
The Wasteland.
Does look like it is in pre-production, and it will be a direct sequel, not a direct sequel, but it will be a direct sequel with the same characters. Not the same characters, the same two protagonists will be dealing with new challenges and a new spicy villain and spicy plot. They say so. Badass villain, spicy plot. So,
I guess that one of the most difficult things when scheduling a film like that is the schedules of actors, because they're always very busy.
I just read this on IMDb. Mad Max: The Wasteland. The Wasteland, which is just a working title, will be a prequel to 2015's Mad Max: Fury Road.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
That's cool.
weird.
Yeah.
Prequel.
Yeah.
I don't like it when they do prequels. I really hate that.
Well, this world can actually, like, you're free to explore it. That's the good thing about. I don't know. I also have to rewatch the Mel Gibson ones. They were so cool. I like them so much. I don't know why. I know some people said they were cringy. I love them. Same with what was that film that kind of flopped? Waterworld. Yeah.
Yeah, there were cringy moments, but overall, I think it was good.
You mean Waterworld?
Mad Max.
I hated Waterworld. I hated Waterworld. My uncle loved Waterworld, and I always felt bad because I would be trashing it, and then he's like, "Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies." And I always feel so bad. I'd be like, "Oh, man, shut up, man! Oh, shut up! No, stop! Oh, I should have kept my mouth shut." But no, I think that, yeah, they're both. I think the
we should change the name of the podcast from the Cyberpunk 2077 Community Podcast with news, blah blah blah. We should call it a podcast where we love Cyberpunk, but we have no news to discuss.
This is CDPR's fault. This is what you get when you don't give us details every week. I mean, in general,
that's also when we don't want to make up information like other people do, because we could.
And
I mean, we do talk about everything that has to do with like cyberpunkish pulp culture in general. So and video games too. So I mean, we're pretty multiversited here. That just means that you guys don't have to stop listening to us once Cyberpunk comes out. We're gonna have content for years, y'all. We're gonna be covering the multiplayer, the next game, the Witchers, all that stuff. We're gonna just keep it dialed. Keep the dial right here.
Actually,
every week.
Yeah,
we might have to change the name.
we might change the name.
Cyberpunk and Witcher. Cyberpunk, Witcher, or whatever to the Projekt Red makes.
No, the triple no neon Madqueen show or something like that. I don't know. Someone will come up with something in the chat.
Yeah, well, that is more elegant than calling it Cyberpunk, Witcher, and whatever to the Projekt Red creates community podcast.
We're also getting more guests. There was supposed to be a guest on this week. Unfortunately, they canceled at the last minute, so we're hopefully going to have them on next week or the week after. So I mean, we're keeping on that stuff. So just keep it here. So
yeah,
it's actually kind of funny. The moments that we don't have news to talk about, our peak viewership is like substantially higher
because so there's no news and they think that that we have some. Maybe it's that.
Maybe it's that.
Yeah, when we do, trust me, when we do have something, you'll be the first to find out, people. Trust me.
The last known neon show.
That was the thing. But where's the S?
The S from the Triple S, well, the Triple S and the Neon Arcade and the last known will all have the and the MadQueen show. I mean, we all have the triple last known neon show.
Oh god.
The last Mad No Neon show. I don't know.
The triple matte neon node.
Yeah, good luck with algorithm on that one.
The
Especially
four
now.
bozos.
Oh yeah.
That works better.
Yeah.
Well, we've been going on for 94 minutes. I think this is a very nice time to actually wrap things up. And hopefully, I know we say this every week, but hopefully next week.
Please.
I will make you guarantee.
And the worst part is we cannot threaten them. Because Polish mercenaries are worldwide known, so we should be afraid of retaliation if we threaten them.
But we can, because we're sponsored by Arasaka. So we can threaten them.
True.
Yeah, it's all
I
fun and
will make a
games.
guarantee. We will have some amazing news to talk about between now and the release. How's that?
It's a bold claim there. Are you sure you want to stick with
Yeah.
that one?
Yeah.
Are you
But
sure this
no,
game is not
seriously,
delayed until
they-
2077?
They are going to be ratcheting things up. They are going to be at a couple of shows coming up here in February. So I would like there's stuff coming. There's stuff coming. It's just I think this, it's still the 12th. It's still pretty early. People are still getting back to work.
Mhm.
They're still planning stuff. So it's they're not going to not mention anything. They're going to mention stuff. It just takes a little time. That's all.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I think this is also good because it just the interest for them goes up because people are searching for their social media accounts, they follow them. It's a nice tactic in a sense.
We are searching for the truth.
Yeah, because if you give people everything like here is this, here is that, people can generally get tired. I mean, not for Cyberpunk, but but usually it's like that. And if you just feed people with enough stuff, it's gonna be good. And keep in mind, this has been announced like what's like 7 years ago now, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
This reminds me when I was preparing the trip to Gamescom that at the end that I couldn't attend, and I talked to before E3 I talked to the PR of CD Projekt Red and asked him, so are you going with Cyberpunk or are you going also with this other secret game? And he said, what, are you tired of Cyberpunk already?
We are just beginning. Like this podcast is actually gonna start properly when the game comes out.
We'll be at like 52 episodes at that point.
Well, then we can kidnap someone from the dev team and do episodes analyzing different quests and different parts of the game.
Yes, finally.
That's actually a great idea.
After NDAs are lifted for everyone.
NDAs are never lifted. I'm sorry, but to tell you,
Oh my god.
I never lifted.
All right. So that's pretty much it.
And
Huh?
let me finish
Yes,
that
please,
because
please.
also because when you're under NDA, you came to learn a lot of dark secrets that can damage the image of a company. I'm not saying that in this case, but I worked for Disney, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you can know the secrets that you can talk about in public. It doesn't matter how long ago you signed it.
Yeah, no, there's a couple secrets that I know that were years ago, over a decade ago. I cannot mention that, otherwise it'll, first people will dispute it. But if I were to drop evidence, I would be in legal hot water as well. So it's messy. Sometimes you just let sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah. Especially with a company like this, like you, of course, we're going to respect everything. Like imagine if we told you about ARG, the before, man.
Yeah, that would have just spoiled it completely. There's no fun in that.
Yeah. So that's good. All right. Does anyone has anything to say? Cause
Yes, click that like button. Well, squish. What's this?
Squish it.
Squish that like button.
yeah.
171 people watching and 91 likes for quite a long time. Holy shit! When I said squish that like button, I didn't mean the dislike one. You fucker.
I think that one was always there.
I think that was since the beginning. again, we really appreciate it when you guys do that. We know it's not a great thing to constantly have spammed at you, but we got to play the game if we want to play the game. So
Wait there. Nick Schrader said, "Those alike to your cyberpunks." I'm keeping that, Nick. I'm keeping that. Those alike to your cyberpunks.
Proceeds to click download. That's not download. That's download. No, but we appreciate your support. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast every single week. I've seen the numbers are growing up. And obviously, as we're approaching the release date, there's gonna be news, there's gonna be guests, but right now everyone is just working hard on this, and a lot of
And
stuff.
we see new people all the time, so it's nice if you're new here, and we recommend you guys come back and interact in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are working very hard. I went a little crazy with the new content. Just a little slightly crazy.
That was good. That was legit.
Oh, you saw the Night City video, I
yes,
guess. I think you
yes.
commented.
Yes. I really
Well,
enjoyed that.
I have to repeat it.
You do.
Yes.
That cosplay was amazing.
It's funny that people calls it cosplay. The jacket belonged to my mother.
I mean, when you use it in that sense, it's a cosplay.
It totally worked. Well, I had to ask her because what I explained before that I cosplayed as David Bowie. I was wearing I was wearing a pair of boots that were also from my mother that were fantastic, and they were big back then. I guess that now they would be my size because we have the same shoe size, and it's a pity she threw a lot of clothing away, because now I could do a lot of cosplays with it.
Yeah, just one day we have a city to burn. Yeah. So is that it? Do we let's see the comments? I think thank you everyone so much for coming. Will you stream on Twitch or YouTube when it comes out? It's gonna be YouTube, I guess, for this podcast. I mean,
for the podcast,
yeah, for the podcast it's YouTube. Individually depends,
Yeah,
depends on YouTube's policies.
Oh yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a minefield just due to how much nudity is in the game. We have still not heard whether or not Twitch is going to give this an okay.
Yeah,
I've been hearing through the grapevine that that what's the other platform that Ninja went to, the
Mixer?
Microsoft one? Mixer. I've heard that Mixer has banned it. Now that's
really?
a rumor right now. It has not been confirmed, but they are suggesting, due to the fact that there's some scenes in it, that they are not going to allow them on there unless the game comes with a censor option. Which I'm okay with having a streamer censor option, as long as it's a button that you just click, and everything is either skipped or black bars are put over top of it. Especially if they float there with like a square of family friendliness, that would be a great joke, or lens flares, courtesy of Sony, whatever. Just so long as that they're removable. I think that's okay, because obviously you don't want a 5-year-old to walk in and go, "What's she doing, Daddy?" It's like that's gonna be
a Mr. Stud, son.
Yeah, that's a Mr. Stud, and she is using that Mr. Stud on that other girl. So it's fine.
I'd like to answer a question in the chat that says, "Is Arasaka like Skynet?" Skynet is an artificial intelligence that regained consciousness of itself, and Arasaka is a company. They have absolutely nothing to do one concept with the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crow's Raven. Yes, I agree. What would make it funnier and what would make it better is if there was an implant within the game that you could put on that then turns everything to unicorns and happy smiley emojis, because that would be within the lore, censorship within the lore, and I think that would be hilarious. Like I said, if there was a floating like little unicorn or something like that every time there was some stuff going on, and that was an implant that you got to basically turn on, I think that's cool. I think that's fine. just so long as it's an optional thing that you can turn on and off for the sake of, I mean, whether kids are in the room or whether you're streaming. That's fine.
I'm okay with Mike Pondsmith mode. every time you see boobies, you hear him saying, "Yeah, baby."
Yeah.
I'll make a mod with Mr. Ruber shouting, "Yeah, show me your socks."
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, for God's sakes, YouTube, we already clicked we're not a channel for kids. What is there more to explore and understand here? But I mean, from one side, yeah, there should be some option, but it just should be optional. But on the other side, I don't know why people get so worked up around certain things like breasts and stuff. Call the fire department. What the hell? Like, chill out. It's just breasts. Jesus.
Well, yeah, here in Europe we see things a little different in this regard.
Oh yeah. That's why some things that
And sometimes people tend to forget that this is a European game.
yeah.
And the philosophy here is completely different regarding nudity, and what is considered and what part of nudity is considered sexual, and what amount of sexiness is okay.
Yeah. But YouTube is regarding that. It's such a gray area, but we'll see. We'll see as the. I'm guessing it's gonna be okay in a sense. Just depends. I think some scenes will have to be avoided, some don't. But yeah, every single playthrough of The Witcher 3 that has any scene in it has been demonetized to hell, with no possibility of returning it to monetized. So manually, but we'll see. Hopefully not. All right. And does anyone have anything for the? I'm looking at the comments, Steve. If there's anything else. No. Thank you everyone for joining. Next week it's gonna be on.
I think it's mine next week.
Yeah. Next
Neon.
week is the Neon Arcade. You have all the links for our channels, Discord, Twitter in the description below. So you can always check us out there to be the first to find out about the Cyberpunk news, about CD Projekt Red's news, about gaming news in general. Depends from every one of us follows these things, but I like that we are doing it in such a unique way that it's completely different from one another, so you can have all of these amazing content out. So yeah, that's it. Sorry about my voice though, I am a little bit sick and I'm getting tired, so I'm gonna stop the stream now. Thank you and see you next time.
See ya.
See you.